Recently, I was asked by a friend of mine, how do I stay so positive? How do I always look at the bright side? This is Tad Fulford with Rise Up in Real Estate, and in today's video, I want to tell you exactly how you can do it too. So, there are those people in your life that always seem to think that the glass is half empty. There's some that might even think the glass is just gonna spill. Well, for me, in my life, I've always thought the glass was half full. Like it's getting ready to get better. It's getting ready to be positive. It's getting ready to be good. I'm optimistic, not Pollyanna, maybe just optimistic. And someone asked me the other day, and I took it quite humbly, and I was flattered when they pulled me aside and said, hey, I just want to know, how in the world do you do it? You always seem to be upbeat. You always seem to be positive. You always seem to be bringing great energy. And I was humbled by that comment because I don't always feel that way. I don't always feel inside like bringing the positive, but most of the time I do. And so I started to analyze. I gave a pat answer to that person when they asked me kind of on the spot, but I began to analyze over the last week or so, why do I feel that way? And I came up with something this morning, and I think I want to share it with you. There are 3 things I think you should do in order to feel this way. 3 things that I feel like I do on a regular basis in order to get my mind right, to renew it, right? To make it fresh again. And this is what you have to do. Number 1, you have to interrupt the regular pattern of noise. You have to say, hey, I'm not going to have my negative way of thinking if you're a negative thinker, or if you worry, or if you look at the downside more than you look at the upside. You have to interrupt the pattern. And how do I do this? And I've said this on video after video after video. You have to regularly, and I would encourage you daily, you have to get alone and you have to get quiet and you have to say, this is my interruption. Say it out loud. Say, I'm interrupting the pattern. I'm going to break the cycle. I'm going to stop the negativity. I think it's got to be physical. I think it's got to be a real time where you say, I'm going to do it, and you sit for 60 seconds or whatever timeline you figure out is good for you, and you say, I'm going to break the cycle right now. After you've broken the cycle, the second thing that you have to do, and this is what I do on a regular basis, I've told you this on video after video, is I regularly consume content from people that I look up to, respect, and admire. So interrupt the pattern, regularly consume positive content. Now this might be John Maxwell, it might be Gary Vaynerchuk, it might be Darren Hardy, it might be Seth Godin, it might be Napoleon Hill, Jared James, and the list could go on and on and on and on. So there's coaches out there, there's inspirational thought leaders, there's YouTube that you can just go and type in, give me something positive, and you'll get something positive. But after you've interrupted the cycle, you have to start filling your mind. If you're going to renew it, you got to fill that empty spot with something positive and do it on a regular basis. Just this morning, as I was riding around after dropping off my 2 boys at school, I took about 15 minutes and I listened to content. There were 2 or 3 things that were in my email inbox that I hadn't listened to yet, and I just simply played them as I drove home. And as I listened to those things, I got 3 or 4 new ideas that I can start putting in my routine if I choose to, that will make things different for me. They were things that I might have learned in the past, but it reminded me again. And remember, if I wouldn't do this, break the pattern, and then consume positive content, where would I be? Right back where I was. I would have missed that idea, right? So once you've broken the pattern of negativity in your mind, once you have consumed some positive content, and the content is everywhere, if you need some advice on where to get that content, reach out to me, I can help. The third thing that you must do, and this might be, well, I'm not going to say it's the most important, but it's super important, is with that positive content that you learn, the third thing you have to do is apply it. This is not about educating only your mind. It's about changing your habits and your actions and your life. So once you've learned a positive thing, once you've heard a positive thing, like this morning, I think I wrote down 5 or 6 simple ideas, new ideas that I got from different sources. What am I going to do with those ideas? Am I going to leave them in a notebook to put on a shelf to say, hey, I went to that conference? For me, what I do is I'm going to find one of those that I feel like I can really apply. I'm going to leave the others on the list and maybe go back to that list in that special notebook at some other time when I'm at a shortage of things to work on in my life, as if that's ever going to happen. But I'm going to take one of those concepts and I'm going to dwell on it. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to say, hey, this is going to make something different for me. One of the things that I came across recently that I'm working on in my own life as just an example in one of these time interruptions, taking in positive content in an application, is trying to reduce the time that I spend multitasking. So what I try to do now is I try to do one thing at a time. And I learned that just driving around one day listening to content. So if you feel like when you watch my videos, you always see a smile. You always see a positive upswing in my content and in my voice and in my expectations and in my outlook. And you've often wondered, how does that guy do it? Well, it's nothing really that special. The Bible says, transform your life by the renewing of your mind, by the constant changeover of content that's in your head. And the way that I renew it is I stop the negative pattern, I dwell on positive thoughts, and I take action and apply on the things that I want to be different in my life. This is Tad Fulford with Rise Up in Real Estate, and I hope today helps you rise up and you can start interrupting the pattern. If you want to chat more about how to do this, or you want to find a group in which you can get involved with where you can do this, reach out to me. I can help.